Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress, and welcome in to our show tonight. Boy, do we have a doozy of a target for us tonight. I have remote viewed something that you guys might have heard about because it became pretty popular. I think it was last year when the Joe Rogan podcast brought this up. Joe Rogan brought out a declassified document. Apparently, it was something from a Freedom of Information Act request in regards to some Russian soldiers who had been turned to stone, limestone, actually, by a UFO, some aliens. Okay, so we're going to get into this story tonight. We are going to go down a couple of pretty major rabbit holes tonight because I feel like there is a connection between what happened with those soldiers and potentially the mud fossils, okay, and the petrified giants across the world. I know, call me crazy. I think there's a connection, okay, and we're going to get into that data. If you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and everything I've got going on, I need to update my ticker down there. That we did have the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this weekend, and that was amazing, y'all. That's on the ticker. I should have taken that off because it already happened. But I had a great conference this weekend. Shout out to everybody who I met, all my old friends, all my new friends, and everybody in between. But yeah, you guys go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com to find all of my shows there, all the events I'm going to be at, and more. Okay. And also, if you would like access to all the raw remote viewing data, you can join my Patreon. That's the Cryptid Huntress over there on Patreon. Also, I do have a shop called War Woman Goods. And yes, please let me know you watch my shows if you purchase something there, and I will include Cryptid Huntress merchandise. Okay, some pins, some magnets, something. I will put something that says the Cryptid Huntress on it in your package if you purchase something out of my shop. Okay, well, let's get to this target tonight, and let's get to the topic because I mean, Barry and I were talking before the show. There's so many different avenues we can take on this, and let's just get to it, okay? So in March of 1993, the CIA declassified a report stating how 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes got out from the crash-landed UFO, or a crash-landed UFO, and attacked Russian soldiers who somehow managed to shoot down a UFO and were turned into stone by the surviving aliens. The declassified report is available at the official website of the CIA. And this is a quote from this report that I have here. I actually have the full report right here, okay? It says the KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular structure was no different than limestone. I was tasked with this as a blind remote viewing target last year. Okay, this came out, I think a lot of this kind of surfaced last year as far as I know, because it became popular with the Joe Rogan podcast. And I'm not saying he got handed some information, but who knows, y'all. Okay. Nonetheless, the story has been out there for at least the past year. And to help me dive into this one tonight, we have Barry Littleton here in the studio. Barry's an amazing researcher extraordinaire, and he's become my sidekick in a lot of ways. And he's got a lot of information on Let me just bring Barry up and we'll go there. Okay, y'all, please help me welcome to the show, Barry Littleton. Hey, Barry.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Jessica? What's happening? How you doing? Hello to you and hello to the audience, and thank you for having me here again. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, thank you. Oh, thank you for being here. Look, this is another doozy of a target tonight. This is one that I actually did as a practice target last year. Okay, and so it's been a little while, but I think that this target actually is. I think it's ready to come out to the public now. You know, a lot of times I do these. I've done practice targets from a long time ago and stuff. I've been doing this for a long time, and I hold on to them, and whenever I feel like it's time to release some of this information, that's when we do it. Okay, like if I feel like there's something going on in the news, there's something that we've touched on in the past couple of weeks, there's a target usually that I've already done somewhere, put away in a folder, that kind of answers some questions potentially for some stuff that we've been talking about. Now with this target, this has so many facets. Okay, because not only are there elements of ETs, UFOs, crash retrievals potentially, but orbs, okay, aliens turning into an orb. And Barry, you and I have seen that personally in a video before, which, by the way, my friend Matt, okay, so Matt's the one who has that video, Matt Delph. I can say that today because he showed that video at the Georgia Bigfoot conference for the entire crowd. He did.
Man, that had to have been a showstopper right there, for real.
Well, it was we were there for a Bigfoot conference, so I don't think it got the excitement from the crowd that it would have had it been at a UFO conference. Okay, because people did not know what they were looking at. I mean, my goodness, Barry, I started talking about dogmen and I had everybody confused at that conference. Okay.
Man, okay, we can talk about that openly then, man.
We can talk about that.
You know, I sent you a video, that one that I put out, one I never put out, and another one I did put out. One was orb perceptions, and talking about that and how some of these craft are, I've had a whistleblower tell me that too. A well-known one claimed to me that they saw a reptilian that was almost 8 feet tall go into a very small orb and just be restricted and just go into this thing. And the orb was the craft, an interdimensional craft. And it's not the first time I heard something like that when it comes to dealing with orbs and actually constructing light bodies, Merkabahs, and vehicles that are intergalactic and interdimensional travelers. It's anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to. I know we got a lot to cover, but that just makes me all excited when you said that. Sorry.
Oh man, I mean, I am super excited because this target, what's going on here, has elements of so many things that we've been covering on my channel and on my show at Spaced Out Radio too. Okay, but stuff that we've been talking about, and one thing that I've been really perplexed by are petrified giants. Okay, and you gave me as a target, I believe you gave me like a sleeping lady maybe, or something. And we've talked about the petrified giants. I mean, there are things that clearly look like people, that look like titans and giants and gigantic animals that look like they're petrified. But then we wonder, like, how did they freeze like that? Are those really petrified giants? Were they actually like humans at some point, or gigantic animals? Did they get frozen in time? How did that happen? What's going on? And then we have this target, we have this declassified document that came out stating that these 23 soldiers were turned to limestone by ET technology when the aliens formed into one. They got out of their spacecraft, they formed into one orb, all the bodies formed in an orb, and then shot a light exploded and it turned all the men to stone. Okay, thank you, BMR. Thank you, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, for that super sticker.
Rob, what up, Rob?
Yeah, what's up? Okay, so, and that's not all. Okay, I mean, there's so much to this. Okay, and the fact that this came out as in a FOIA request. Okay, and I mean, I'm going to read this word for word in just a minute. Okay, the part that I have out highlighted. Okay, we're going to read this because this is important. Okay, this is important. It's going to connect some dots, I think, for a lot of the other stuff that we have been looking into. And it's out of Russia, which is, it's kind of cool. Okay, but okay, Barry. So where should we start? Let's start at the beginning. Okay, so the way this story kind of came out, by the way, Addicted to Knowledge 39. Thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that. Okay, the way it became mainstream, let's just say, Joe Rogan, he has a very popular podcast. He had that game show a long time ago called, God, what was that show called? Where you had to do like dares and eat bugs and lay in a vat of snake pits and stuff. It's like Double Dare for adults, right? And yeah, so he had that show. He was a host of that for a while. I think they eventually got that taken off the air because it was so risque. They were making people do stuff that they didn't want to do. But anyways, okay, so Joe Rogan, all right, very popular podcast. Okay, he went on air and was talking, I believe it was Post Malone. Okay, I can't tell if it was Post Malone or who. He, one of those guys. Post Malone was hanging out with him. I do believe he started sharing the word for word details of a 250-page report allegedly written by the CIA, shedding light on this incident. The original reports collected by KGB agents in the late 1980s were later covered by Ukrainian media and documented in classified intelligence files in 1993. According to Rogan, the report suggests that a saucer-shaped spacecraft flew low above a Russian army unit during routine training exercises. Then a member of the unit fired a surface-to-air missile, hitting the UFO, and it crashed nearby. 5 humanoid creatures, short in stature with large heads and black eyes, emerged from the wreckage. And the surviving soldiers testified there were 2 survivors. And they testified that the aliens emerged from a single object after exiting the spaceship. This object then transformed into a spherical shape, emitting a rapid humming sound. Let's see. He said that suddenly it disintegrated into a brilliant white powder, rapidly expanding in size until it exploded in a blinding light. At that moment, all 23 soldiers watching the phenomenon turned to stone pillars. Okay. What do you think about that, Barry?
Well, for starters, I might as well just throw this out and just be the corny cat for the beginning. You know, at the get-go, we start even dealing with this subject. I always see references in terms of movies, and I start seeing the 1984-83 episode, not 82, I'm sorry, Clash of the Titans with Harry Hamlin. And when he fights Medusa and puts it on the Gorgon, and the Gorgon versus the Gorgon, but that's stone technology. And I'm hearing the euphemism now, Gorgon stair technology, isn't that what everyone's using or something like that?
Well, I brought that up, yeah, because I started looking up Medusa. Okay, so I like to cover all the facets. Okay, y'all know me. You know me, Barry. I like to cover everything, and of course, I had some feedback on social media today, and Daniel, who's probably, I don't know if you're watching in the chat today, hit me up on Instagram and was talking about Gorgon technology. And I was like, okay, so that's Medusa. I'd already been researching Medusa today before the show. And so I started looking up Gorgon technology, and oh my gosh, hold on. Oh, you know what? I'm going to try to download this real quick from my computer. Our military has something called Gorgon technology, but it's more like surveillance airplanes or surveillance. What do you call them? Drones, I guess you call it. I believe this is called the MQ-9 Reaper, and they're all out of, get this, Kandahar. Okay, like the giant of Kandahar. They're in Afghanistan. Okay, and so this is, I don't know. Okay, well, we're going to get into the data in a minute. Okay, but it just says that those are surveillance probes or airplanes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it lets off some sort of frequency or a laser or something. I don't know. It didn't say they did. I do have a lot of information on those crafts there here somewhere in my notes. But I mean, why would they call it Gorgon technology if it didn't do something to either turn people to stone or to, I don't know. What do you think, Barry?
I don't know, that maybe they're stretching it a bit.
I'm here to stretch it. I'm here to stretch it.
Maybe they are just drones. I don't know. Maybe they're doing something, but I don't know. But this what
I'm putting it out there.
In terms of, there's something that I've been interested in a long time, since childhood, actually, and it's concerning experiences, like my experiences, but it's dealing with those ships that people see that go into mountains and also into the earth. And, I sent you a video of that's really, it's like probably 7 months old, but I just never released it onto YouTube. And it's called Stone Technology. And, something that I was having some conversations with Tony Rodriguez, and it just kind of, spawned me to do this, because he's one of the few people I've heard talking about that. And it's actually the civilizations that deal with technology that can convert matter into stone and stone into matter. And it can, and that have that control, that process, that's really sought after galactic wise, because there's only so many that can do it at certain levels. And so that's just kind of where it fades in. I think that takes us into silicon life forms and organic things. And when you see craft that go into the ground, actually they're going into what might not be just the inner earth, but also what's called the deep biosphere, which is where 95% of Earth's non-discovered bacteria and fungus lie. And it's called actually dark microbial matter, if you look that up. So when you start dealing with that in civilizations that might be melanin dominant and things of this nature, it just gets all different and kind of intrinsic, I think, kind of deep. So that's where I kind of come in with interest in this, and don't think it's absurd at all about technology that could actually put something into stone. And it's not dealing with, when you told me about this, I've not heard about this. So I started looking it up today. And when I started finding a lot is scientists and people trying to say that it was a chemical conversion or something that was done. I don't think so. I think it's more of a type of phase technology, something similar to dealing with more light and phase. Like there's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation called The Next Phase, where Geordi, he's wearing this nice little woman's bandana, it looks like, and Ensign Rowe, and they go through this process where they get phased. And they're not just cloaked, but they're phased, and they're going through things. There's some scientific things that they're a little off, but I mean, just premise-wise, it's just interesting, because I think we're dealing with something similar to that when dealing with phase technology. So anyway, now I know you got some data to go over. That'll be really exciting. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have data, but before we get to the data, I've still got some more info too. Okay.
Oh, cool.
We got some more info. So, okay, so let's get back to kind of the story as to how the story came about, right? Or I guess there were the two soldiers. I did mention that two people did survive. They survived the incident due to partial protection from the ensuing explosion. I guess they weren't looking directly at it. Okay, they were kind of shielded by in the shadows. Now the other soldiers were standing right there at it when it happened, and they were staring at it, much like if you look at Medusa, you look right at her, and you turn to stone, right? Okay, that's it's kind of the story of Medusa. Okay, the Gorgon. In case people don't know what Gorgon is, I believe Medusa was a Gorgon. Am I correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, okay, so what Joe Rogan was saying on his podcast, he said that the KGB report was stating, and I do have this report right here, that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transported to a top secret research facility near Moscow, leaving the fate unclear. There were several unidentified objects colored red, green, and yellow sighted flying over various bases in Antarctica. That's also in that document as well. In 1991, Soviet Union President Mikhail Gorbachev ordered the destruction of these documents. but they somehow ended up in the hands of the CIA. Imagine that. Recordings from the documents capture Gorbachev affirming that the report unequivocally proves the existence of extraterrestrial beings and they should be taken very seriously. Experts speculate that the energy emitted by the aliens could have caused a transformation in the soldiers' organic structure, rendering their molecules indistinguishable from stone. It says, of course, there are people that are still skeptical about it, but we're here today because I did remote view this last year. Okay, and I have some very interesting data on this, and I'm going to go ahead and state right up front. My opinion, according to the data, I do believe this is a real incident. I do believe this really happened. Okay, I do believe it. Yep, I believe this happened. This is the real.
Cool.
Okay, and for whatever reason, this came up. I think it's time to talk about it. Let's go there. Okay, and I also, like I said, I do have this document here. Here's a copy of it if you guys would like to read this on the screen, if you can. You can find this by Googling. Just Google paper reports, alleged evidence on mishap involving UFO, or type in Russian soldiers turned to stone in your search engine. Okay, and this will come up. This is the actual document. And I'll read some excerpts from this. Okay. One of the CIA representatives referred to this case as a horrific picture of one's blood freeze. According to the KGB materials, a quite low-flying spaceship in the shape of a saucer appeared above a military unit that was conducting routine training maneuvers. For unknown reasons, somebody unexpectedly launched a surface-to-air missile and hit the UFO. It fell to Earth not far away, and 5 short humanoids with large heads and large black eyes emerged from it. It is stated in the testimonies by the 2 soldiers who remained alive that after freeing themselves from the debris, the aliens came close together and then merged into a single object that acquired a spherical shape. The object began to buzz and hiss sharply and then became brilliant white. In a few seconds, the spheres grew much bigger and exploded by flaring up with an extremely bright light. At that very instant, 23 soldiers who had watched the phenomenon turned into stone poles. Only 2 soldiers who stood in the shade and were less exposed to the luminous explosion survived. The KGB report goes on to say that the remains of the UFO and the petrified soldiers were transferred to a secret scientific research institution near Moscow. Specialists assume that a source of energy that is still unknown to Earthlings instantly changed the structure of the soldiers' living organisms, having transformed it into a substance whose molecular composition is no different of that of limestone. A CIA representative stated, "If the KGB file corresponds to reality, this is an extremely menacing case. The aliens possess such weapons and technology that go beyond all our assumptions. They can stand up for themselves if attacked." Okay, well, that's menacing. Okay, that is what's in the document. Okay, so man, I'm interested to see what the audience think and what you guys think tonight. If everybody if people in the chat have heard of this before, if you guys are familiar with it, I would assume you guys are, a lot of you, but I know there's some that aren't. If Barry didn't know about this, that shocks me, Barry.
No, not this one. I hadn't heard about this one.
Yep.
You know, as far as, like I said, stone technology, as far as contact experience go, that's a little different. But this is, so I guess this is tying in, you know, but I mean, it's not anything that's unheard of, you know, but it's just a matter of what type of a technology it is that can cause that type of fossilization and petrifying to that degree, that quickly, because it's almost instant. So it's some type of a phase technology, matter transport, transferring matter into energy into matter. So not much other way to escape that.
Yes. Okay. Abbott Hoffman says Mud Fossil University. Okay, that is actually on. It's on YouTube. You guys go look up Mud Fossil University. The guy is a great researcher. He really looks into the mud fossils, and yeah, I think they're everywhere. And if you guys are wondering what a mud fossil is, okay, so first of all, I have some pictures. of some petrified giants. Okay, looks like a petrified rhinoceros. This looks more like this is a snake. Okay, like a couple of snakes on top of each other. Here, Fear Factor. That's the name of that show Joe Rogan was on. Thank you.
Well, eat some cockroaches, and chocolate, and some stuff like that. Oh, Lord,
Lucius knows what's up. Thank you. Okay, but there are these strange rocks. I don't know if this is actual like a petrified giant. That might be a statue. I don't know, but there are some that look like this, like people that are sleeping, are mountain ranges and stuff. Okay, so it's something to look into, you guys. If I've actually done shows on this. I did a show with Jock Doubleday, talking about the stone giants. These are some interesting looking, what look like faces on the side of mountains.
You know, mentioning Jock, you know, some of his talk of some of the engineering that goes on, geoengineering that went on for Earth actually being much more manufactured than what's thought, goes right along with this and that type of technology. So I think that's definitely worthy of mentioning.
It does.
He had a really good presentation at that conference we were at concerning this type of stuff.
He did.
Into it very closely. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, that's right, Ryan. Ryan Tremblay is in the chat. Missed the opportunity to call that the Medusa effect. Yeah, that would be a great name. I like that, the Medusa effect. Okay. All right, so let's get into the data. Okay, because I have some pretty interesting data. This is only 2 pages worth of data, but it packs a little punch. Okay, it does pack a punch. Okay, so this is a blind target. This was from last year around September. Okay, when this one was done, and so yeah, you guys, who's that, Scott? I need to do a show with Joe Rogan. Heck yeah, I do. Y'all hit it. Y'all send Joe my way, please. Send me Joe's way. Totally, Joe Rogan. Okay, don't tell him that I didn't know the name of his show though. Okay, so I couldn't remember it. Okay, so when I first went into this target berry, okay, there's different stages. What I do is called coordinate remote viewing, and there's stages. And the way it works is you draw out your charts, and then you write out the coordinate numbers, and then you go in stages. When you're ready to go, your hand starts doing automatic writing, and you write ideograms. Okay, they're called ideograms. That's your stage 1 data. Okay, as I was writing my stage 1 data, I remember this because the first thing I wrote at the very top of my page, I started hearing a song by, I didn't know it was Prince. I couldn't remember who sang it. But as I got into this target before I could even get my ideograms out, I was hearing this Prince song, and it was, all I heard was Strike Curious Poses. And it was that song, I think it's When Doves Cry, I think. It's When Doves Cry. It was in my head, Barry, and you know how I channel with songs, yeah. Right? Well, this one was Prince. And so I went right before the show tonight, I wrote down that verse. Okay, because I wrote down Strike Curious Poses, and then underneath it I wrote Prince song. So this was the first thing that I wrote down on the page. Animals strike curious poses. They feel the heat between me and you. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, if that's so the target is this event. Okay, and these people were turned to stone by something hot, right? I assume. So strike curious poses. And then so for some of my sensory data, I wrote down striking, hurting, shocked, hot, precise, floating, confused, and I got like grays and browns. Okay, that was some of my sensory data. Now, okay, so this was my analytic overlay for this target. I was hearing that song. I wrote down lasers and laser beams. DEW. We know what that means, right? So like directed energy weapon, that was in this target. I was picking up on a lot of linear and like lines, linear lines. And then I heard starstruck. And then I wrote down data that was like outside the box. And then I was picking up on data that it pertained to like mistaken identity. Okay, I wrote mistaken identity. That was a good part of this data as well. And then I wrote down crisis hotline. So crisis hotline, that was part of the data. And then for my stage 3 drawing, I drew something that kind of looks like, could be like a spaceship or something. It's just like a bunch of circles right there. It could be an egg. I don't know. It could be anything. But yeah, I had an interesting drawing for that. Okay, so that's stages 1 through 3 right there, which is pretty on target if you ask me. Okay, and so I was picking up on a lot of circular data, something that was circular, and then I kept hearing, I heard clairaudiently, I heard too big to fall, too big to fail. I think I heard too big to fall, and then I wrote too big to fail too, just in case, because I was like, I don't know what I'm hearing. I started picking up on something that was flashing. Okay, I wrote flashing, elongated. I wrote down flashbang. A flashbang for my AOL when I was picking up on something that was flashing. Flashbang. I picked up on a craft or a vessel. I wrote vessel. And something that was modular. I don't even know what modular exactly, what the definition of that is, but modular and module. Something that was very serious. Okay, something very serious. But it was mostly data that pertained to a craft or a vessel for the rest of that data. Okay. So I mean, that's kind of my data in a nutshell right there. Okay. So whatever is going on here, there was definitely a flash. There was something that was serious. Something circular. I don't know. I think that there was something to do with a directed energy weapon. Okay, so whatever this target was, there was a directed energy weapon. Lasers were included, or what I perceived to be lasers, Barry. Okay, so I'm writing down what I know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it doesn't mean that's exactly what it is. That's just the way I was interpreting that in the data, what I was sensing. But yeah,
no matter how you look at it, you're dealing with light weapons.
Yep.
No way around it. You know, whether it be lasers, masers, but lasers don't cause the petrifying effect of what we're dealing with here. So it's some different type of light we're dealing with that's dealing with something that causes things to fossilize immediately. And it's got to contain probably silicon, you know, maybe granite, limestone, obviously, because they keep making comments of this being limestone and being turned into limestone. I kept seeing that.
Yeah.
And, we start looking at pyramid structure and things that are made of limestone. It's very interesting. You know, when you deal with not just limestone, but granite too, and some of the properties. There's a book, this book here, Love is in the Earth by Melody. It's kaleidoscope of crystals. Really good information in there. I urge everybody look at what it says about granite. And also when examining granite, you know, David Paulides has showed how a lot of those missing persons clusters occur around large granite structures and around some of those underground reservoirs too, but that's another thing. Anyway.
Ooh. Okay, so you know, like my brain's working overtime right now because I'm thinking of all the things in this world that don't make a whole lot of sense that we've been looking into. It's like, okay, if these men were turned to stone by some alien technology, and we're looking into the petrified giants, we're looking into the Sleeping Lady Mountains and all this other stuff. And Jock Doubleday, our friend from the conference that we met, and I did a show with him yesterday, actually, talking about Mars. Okay, but he talks about who terraformed Terra, who created, in his opinion, he's not a geologist, he's not an archaeologist, he's a playwright, but he's traveled the world. He spent time working and volunteering at the Bosnian Pyramid complex, and he's an observer and he's an experiencer, and he is convinced that all of these structures like mountains and even the mesas, you know, we talk about the giant trees, the stumps that are like mesas and stuff. Like, did somebody create this? You know, is it really natural? How did this come to be? Okay, and so I have to wonder, like, what all is not natural? What all was turned to stone by alien technology? What's going on, Barry? What's going on here?
You know, and he's dealing with really cool how he breaks that down. Several different theories concerning terraforming of Terra here, Terra X, that he
Hmm.
deals with and that he's dealing with. It's very interesting. You know, a lot of that can't be easily dismissed. Some of it, you know, and it's really fascinating. You know, but we got to remember we're dealing with civilizations type 4, type 5 that are capable of actually constructing stars and planets. And when you start dealing with that type of, you know, advanced civilizations, anyway. So that's you know,
Yeah. You know, Addicted to Knowledge has a good point. I bet the Egyptians knew about this technology. I mean, what all, so it makes you wonder, like, what all was living potentially before and got turned to stone. And yeah, Medusa is an archetype, I guess you could say, of Greek mythology, right? But maybe it's kind of a clue as to something else bigger that was going on, you know, in our environment. Um, I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I told you
I
I'm going
mean,
down rabbit hole.
I'm not seeing a lot of evidence of that with them.
Mhm.
And technically, when you had a blind target of remote viewing who was building the pyramids, wasn't the Egyptians that were making them, was it?
It was,
Remember?
I picked up on, it was UFOs and giants.
Giants.
It was some kind of extraterrestrial, uh, I want to say a collaboration.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It was not just one thing. It was a collaboration of extraterrestrial power. Let's just say power or beings and something that was giant by my standards.
Mhm.
I'm just a little old human. Okay. So yeah.
But, you know, but who knows? You know what I mean? It's when you start going that far back and even further back than that, it's who knows? You know what I mean? We've got so many things now that are still standing that shows this was actually a type 1 civilization here. And I think one of the most biggest mistakes that we make is thinking that ancient man was primitive and using all these squared stones for circles and all these ridiculous things, when in reality it was a type 1 civilization deal with galactic trade and all sorts of other stuff going on here, you know.
That's right. And you know what? I included a picture of a giant human today. Not a super giant, but a pretty big guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of tie this in a little bit too. It's like
Well,
there
those
was a
brothers
race
have
of
made their
giants.
rounds in pictures. There's him and two other brothers. You see these pictures of these cats all the time. I posted pictures of them like 10 years ago. Yeah, they're these really tall giant cats. But you know, in reality, when you start looking at what is black extraterrestrials, melanin dominant extraterrestrials, which no one likes to really talk about, and I still get criticized for bringing up, but that's neither here nor there. I'll always talk about it. You start dealing with those that were actually in stature of like that look like them. In fact, contacts right now, those people I've met that have interacted with black extraterrestrials here on Earth that are walking around their population have said I've often hear the same thing. Is one is they're dressed like somewhat like Moors, and two would be, well, this tall. I thought it was maybe the basketballs was in town until something
Yeah.
happens. They hit you telepathically, or something's different about them. You know, so it's just an instant of that. So that's why it's interesting when those cats come up there, and you know that's not talked about. The giants that walked here in the past, and you know when you start going to the ones that are supposedly these mountains that are now petrified and things like that. And for the record, Sleeping Lady that you looked at, which is next door to that is SETI Ranch, Mount Adams. It looks like a lady laying down. But I had you look at that was one of your blind targets. But I wanted to see if you experienced what I saw when I had to go under hypnosis to see what actually I saw in that thing. And it was a city in there. And you saw some of that in there too. There's a city in that mountain range. And, you know, so anyway, that's neither here nor there, but it's all relevant.
Hmm. I think it's all
Don't you think?
relevant, Larry. It's all relevant. Everything. I mean, I know I may be going out on a limb with some of this stuff tonight with like the Medusa information and the Medusa, the Gorgon technology and everything. But I mean, it's just food for thought.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe
I
not.
know, right?
You know what I mean? I mean, with the fact is of what they've been able to back engineer
Mhm.
and what they've got from these crash ships, and what these dark individuals that run this planet, some of them have gotten from the dark forces that interact with here. None of that's off the table, quite honestly. So I'm not dismissing it at all. At least me personally, anyway. So
Yeah. I mean, they have Gorgon technology, okay, in our military. The Gorgon stare technology. Gorgon
that's what
stare.
you think of Harry Hamlin when he holds remember he holds the hand up there and the lights come, the eyes come on, and it freezes the Gorgon. What's the bigger Gorgon? What was it called? Oh gosh, the Kraken, the Krakon.
The
Yeah.
Kraken. Yeah, that's right.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't help but thinking of that, because that's what that movie was all about, actually. Him getting control of that head so he could freeze that Kraken. Or, sorry, petrify it
Yeah.
would be the word.
Speaking of heads, okay, Medusa's head was decapitated, okay, because what she would do, so Medusa is known as a winged Gorgon monster. I don't remember her having wings, okay, but it says here she had wings. Monster with snakes for her hair, who could turn anyone to stone by just looking into the person's eyes. But Medusa wasn't always this despicable monster that she became known as. She was a beautiful mortal before she transformed into a monster. Okay. Um, so she was turning people into stone after she turned into this monster. Someone was very jealous of her. I believe it was Athena got very jealous of her. And so she banished her and cursed her to live the life of a monster. Okay. A snake-headed person. And any man, especially that looked into her eyes would turn to stone. And
You said Athena did that to her?
Athena did that to her. That's right. Because
I
Poseidon,
thought she
Medusa
was a
fell in.
Scorpio.
Well, she fell in love with Poseidon. They had two. Well, they had two children, but let me tell you, the children weren't born until her head was cut off and they came out of her neck. They said so. That's weird. Okay, that's super weird. But I want to say Polydectes. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Her head was sought after by King Polydectes. And I'm sure like I said, I'm not saying that right. I believe his son was Perseus, and Perseus was sent to her to get her head. And
Harry Hamlin.
yeah, she was the Dennis says that she was the Medusa is the original evil eye. But okay, so Perseus was sent to go get her head. He ended up using his shield to cut her head, to trick her, kind of to see her from behind by using his shield, like the reflection in his shield. And he went up and was able to chop her head off. And he took her head home. I guess it was his dad. Okay. And when he pulled the head out of the bag to show him, the dad, his eyes met with Medusa's dead face and he turned to stone. Okay, so anyways, that's that story. Okay, so let's talk about this Gorgon steer technology that our military has. Just for just for fun. Okay, let's just talk. So Gorgon steer is a video capture technology developed by the US military. It is a spherical array of 9 cameras attached to an aerial drone. This is it. The U.S. Air Force calls it Wide Area Surveillance Sensor System. Okay, and this is actually, like I said, it's out of Afghanistan. They've used it on the war on terror in the Middle East. They'd never use it on civilians, I'm sure, here in the United States. I don't know, but yeah, I know, right? But anyways, that is a form of technology that they have here.
Now that I do find very, very interesting.
Okay.
And that can be backed up. They've got holographic technology now that they've got things called quantum dots. And oddly enough, quantum dots are found in chemtrails. But anyway, quantum dots, they're actually putting on board the total surface of a craft or of a drone like that would make it completely invisible. And what I've learned about invisibility techniques and technology has gotten really intense in terms of, I'll just say this quickly. I'm doing a series of videos right now. And one of them I just did is on implants. And I was spurred to do that on an implant I saw from somebody that was removed from somebody. and it was this technology that is based on graphite metamaterials, and it's really, really advanced. And what it is invisibility. And where
Oh,
this person would even, it's like $1 million chip that comes out of Australia, this technology. How would this person even get this in them? It's real serious. And what that's the frequencies it's emitting, like a lot of those implants do, like Dr. Lear had found out, what gauze they emit and the magnetic frequencies they emit, the hertz and all that stuff.
mhm,
I mean, that's making not just the person that's got it implanted tractable to virtual reality scenario technology, but it makes when somebody in the vicinity of them is probably vulnerable to it also. I mean, that's real serious. We start looking at people start looking up things called the sentient world simulation and what they're trying to really do with that, and trying to use that to turn Google into an AI brain, actually trying to make an AI brain for Google, as in one of these androids or something. That's really creepy. And the mapping that they're doing of the human brain and all that we're talking about right here really goes into that, and this whole type of neurological technology and things. It's a trip because I didn't think it would go in this way. You know what I mean? But it is when we
mhm,
start dealing with this technology. It's starting to turn that way. Anyway, sorry, you were
mhm.
saying something else, but I get
Oh,
blown away
no.
sometimes by some of this, going down these rabbit holes. You'd be like, damn, man.
Well, it's just fun to get out there because well, it's every time that I start doing my research on this, and I'm like, okay, well, my brain starts like really going into overtime, thinking about all the things that we've talked about. That I mean, now it makes more sense. Now to me, it's like, well, yeah, they look like these mountains look like horses and elephants and giant people, but now there's a way to have made them that way, and it involves ET extraterrestrial type technology. It's not
Hey,
it's not it's not impossible now.
I just saw something.
Hmm.
Chat. I've not been looking over there, but I was looked over there, and I see a gentleman, John Fortman. He says
Okay. Yeah.
keyhole neurosurgery is done behind the ear sometimes. Absolutely. Great point. Because a lot of those ones that Dr. Lear was removing were those implants behind the ear too. And they would move though. Somebody's having problems getting, they would move like they're moving, and they were the ones that would actually, when they were removed, the ones from that area that John's talking about, when they were removed, when they start hitting air, they start breaking up and breaking down almost immediately. But then when you get them back in blood serum, they start reassembling. That's a whole nother type of technology that is, so anyway, sorry, I just saw that was a cool comment. And that's what's cool about your group. You have people that know stuff like that and say stuff like that that's just on point, you know.
Actually, John and his wife, okay, came to the Georgia Bigfoot conference with their dogs this past weekend. So I got to meet Mrs. and Mr. Fortman
That's
at
cool.
the Bigfoot conference. So that was such a treat. And their dogs. My son was obsessed with your dogs, by the way. Um, so yeah, so amazing comments. I mean, we have a lot of great comments tonight in here too. So uh, it's like the mythology mixed with the technology, you know, and it's just, I don't know, it's a lot to wrap your head around. Okay, it really is. And so that's why we're trying to, I wanted to kind of lay it out there, and let's just discuss it a piece at a time here, because it's all connected somehow.
What made you pull up that comment? That's interesting.
Pangea. I don't know, Barry. You tell me.
When I start dealing with what are past life memories and
Mhm.
remembering there being two moons here, okay, and hearing things and remembering things of one of these moons being trapped in something we would call a tractor beam, and then pulled in, and it was supposed to rain down actually, and rain down on what we would call the difference between maybe what was Mu and Atlantis, Mu
Mhm.
and Lemuria, these different places. But I think it was a war going on, and that was supposed to come down. These fragments of this other moon was supposed to come down on and destroy this area. And what happened is the heated fragments destroyed the firmament. And that's you have some of those great floods and these things that have happened in different eras. This is even different than what I spoke with Randall Carson about. Slightly different from that, but it's all tying in there quite closely. So when they say something like that, is not at all, I think, unusual, and it could be when it was still Pangea, and that's when it happened there. But it destroyed. That's what caused the break of Pangea. Who knows? But what that individual just said is not so far off at all. When you start
Yeah.
dealing with what's happening in the past here, going back about 1,000,000 years, or further. They're not
Yeah.
telling you how long humanity and the others have been here. It's definitely more than 300,000 years, I promise you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I believe so too, for sure. Isness magic. Okay. A majority of my rocks are biological body parts. Okay, now I can agree with a lot of what I've been watching lately, the research I've been doing with the petrified giants. I wonder now, like Himalayan salt. Let's go there. Let's go there with this Himalayan salt. Okay. Some say that the Himalayan salt is actually like part of the body of a giant. Okay. The Himalayan salt is like the fat of a giant. Or, I don't know. There, I don't even know where to go with this right now. Okay. Because there's so much we could talk about. But there are like what we see is like petrified trees and stuff. Some of that stuff could be like veins or arteries of a giant. Okay. And you see things like, okay, so Jock, let's talk about Jock again. I did send Jock a link. I hope he's watching tonight. If not, he'll watch it later. But Jock Doubleday, that I mentioned earlier, he was joking one time a while back after I first met him, talking about how he had gone around. He was looking at it looks like private parts of giants all over the world, and he's made a joke about it. But it's true. You can look it up online and look up, let's just say yonis. Okay.
Was he looking at these nuts? No, I'm just kidding.
No, the female parts. I mean, they're all over. They're all over the world. I know, it's terrible, y'all. It's terrible.
Well, that's what they call. Sorry.
Okay, that's my son's favorite phrase. Okay, he loved to say that.
Sleeping lady. Yeah. Sleeping lady. That's why they call it that, because it looks like a female actually laying down. The sleeping lady mountain range that you had a remote view.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Yeah. Yes, we went there, y'all. I know. We went there.
Before that, I just totally lost it, so I'm sorry. I can't remember what it was now. That threw my mind off.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Jock is cool.
He's so cool. I know.
We did a good interview with him a couple months ago. It was really cool. So.
So John, or AKA Coco, I think, says used to be biological matter. If petrified, it is no longer. The material is replaced by silicas or pyrite as it decomposes. And now that is what the declassified document here says. My FOIA request right here, it does say that they turned into the chemistry of the bodies completely transformed into something exactly like limestone. It was stone. The closest thing they could compare it to was limestone. Okay, so it's no longer a body part anymore. It is limestone. So does that mean that some kind of weapon turned these giants, Barry, into mountains?
I could take this, I guess, a few ways differently. When you start dealing with like comedic knowledge and things of that nature, you start dealing with the hypothesis and the saying that when you start dealing with the beings that were that big, that were that large, over 25 feet tall and taller, that when you start dealing with the civilization they had here on Earth, and when you start dealing with where they were from and the mineralization of their bodies, and when you start dealing with their biological waste and their disposable disposable waste factories and things, and really what that was, that everything that they had was very highly mineralized, and due to their size, you start getting this where you start getting different gold compounds and things of that nature was a byproduct of their waste after it actually petrified.
Hmm.
I've heard that for a while, and it's food for thought when you start really dealing with what civilization was here when you had, not just one, two, or three, or four of these giants that size. You had a planet full of them. And where was their biological waste going to? And you start dealing with their biological makeup. How much more mineralization do they have in their bodies than we do? We don't know. They're from a whole nother biosphere. So this is really, when you start dealing with ornaments and that type of gold and beings that can actually eat that and digest that as nutrition, whole nother thing going on, really, But
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but this is food for thought. That's just why people are saying some things out there that I don't throw it out, at all. Because when you start hearing things like this, and that's stuff that I had studied long ago, that's back in the 90s, so.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I was trying to find my notes on the solid stone technology. Should we talk about that just a little bit more? Because I think that's very important when it comes to this for the topic tonight. I don't know where my notes are on it, but okay. Well, you actually did a video now. The audience can find this video on your Patreon, right, Barry?
Yeah, it's called stone technology. And again, that's dealing with actually, again, this type of energy that can convert. We think of things like the transporter on Star Trek, beaming people, but actually it's the process of converting matter into energy and
Mhm.
energy into matter, and just transferring that over into stone technology and this type of a phase technology that can either phase a ship through a mountain like what we've seen. Shirley MacLaine talks about that a lot. People laugh at her, but when she's got that huge medicine wheel out there at her place off somewhere in New Mexico, she said by the Caldera mine, where all those crystals blew out of that mine. You know what I'm talking about? This quartz blew out of
Mhm.
that mine. And she says that she thinks those ships somehow either magnify or use as a power source all those crystals that are spread around there as an energy field. And she talks about the amount of stars that have been in her hot tub and watch these UFOs hover over her hot tub and then go into the mountain and disappear into the mountain. So there again, we're dealing with that type of a technology, and that's when dealing with the energies that help make the pyramids, all these things, we're dealing with not just sound technology, but again, this technology that would be like what you see. I always go back into entertainment. The never ending story is a good one, because what was the main nemesis in the never ending story? Do you remember?
I don't know, the void or something. I don't know.
You're close. It wasn't the luck dragon, the big dog he was riding around. It wasn't that one. It was the nothing. And the
The
nothing was
nothing.
the
That's what
force
it
that
is.
was dissolving Fantasia, that world, into nothing. It was turning everything into energy, into matter. And that's part of the thing when you start dealing with the other cycle that was here. We had these instruments that were capable. That's what they did. They turned energy into matter, matter into energy. But they were based on intent and like a Kundalini purified deal. And you start getting other genetics that started getting those gene pools that had intentions of negative intentions and selfish intentions. They got initiation and control of that technology, and it started making it go awry. And that's how you got some of these places that were destroyed here. Maybe why Göbekli Tepe had to be buried before that happened. It's really things need to be thought of here as far as technology that have been the past that we
Yeah.
have evidence of still that can't be explained right now.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a bunch of alien tech, I suppose. I don't know. I mean, if we're getting documents, like, okay, I have to just say this. I don't think Joe Rogan is sitting around looking for declassified documents in his spare time. Okay, I know how this works. I've had people send me stuff. Okay, so for whatever reason, last year, I'm just putting it out there. I'm gonna be honest.
That's
Okay,
good.
I'm honest with my crew. Like, I have people that send me stuff. I don't know who all these people are. That's why I don't always talk about these things, because I don't know if it's real. I have to, it's almost like I hold on to stuff because I don't know who it's coming from. And then I'm like, okay, well, now it's time to talk about it. Just like with this right here. Okay, this is something I had remote viewed last year. And I think it's time to talk about it. But somebody gave him. I think somebody probably was like, "Hey, it's time to put this out there." Okay, because why else would he have been talking about this with Post Malone, the, of all people,
Well, I
smoking
mean, he
cigarettes?
has a lot of interesting stuff on there. He completely seems to try to dismiss all cryptids, especially Bigfoot. He's always all trying to dismiss that, but he has interesting
Doesn't he?
cats on there. A few episodes ago on your show here on Spaced Out Radio, we were talking about what's that brother's name that saw the mermaid and Chelly's.
That was on the Joe
Yeah,
Rogan podcast. Yeah,
yeah, Lagoon. Yeah,
yeah,
that thing was very interesting. Everybody want to try and make fun of him, but the man's trying to tell you something. He had some sort of encounter, and you start looking in that
yeah.
up. There's a lot of those sightings over there, and he kept saying, "We all say whatever you want. I saw a fish man." Okay, I mean, it's so interesting because it's easy to make fun of people and to criticize people, call them crazy, until something happens to you.
Yeah. Well, now it seems more edgy to be the skeptic. It's like, I gotta be. It's not to me. It's fine. I mean, I am skeptical on a lot of stuff. Okay, you have to be skeptical, especially in the research field. You have to be skeptical, but it just seems to be more edgy. Maybe it just it gets more clicks. I don't know. So, but anyways, yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting. I saw that episode.
I saw somebody mentioning jump rooms. Everything's flying by so fast now. I can see it. That's interesting premises. I mean, I'll be honest, I have some issues with some things I've heard about jump rooms based on that really comes from one person. Andrew Basago started all that with jump rooms. Not that it's not true, but he's the one that started out, and everybody else seemed to build on it from there. But when we start dealing with actually holographic technology and virtual reality scenario technology, it's a whole nother thing going on. And that's what the exposure to that. So I'm not so sure that they're actually breaking down every molecule and then beaming somebody to Mars and they're actually there, opposed to they're inside the virtual reality scenario simulation that right now can be actually proven with these brain computer interfaces they're making publicly. And if anything we're seeing publicly right now interface wise is at least 50 years behind what they have. I mean, and you talk about DEW, directed energy weapons. They have an audio spotlight they put on people. They have this voice of God technology they're hitting people with, and all this can be used to hijack the entire contactee scenario, to where it's only this type of negative encounters or SSP type of stuff. And the positive side of encounter, which is what the majority of us have, is completely dismissed by the media. And it's easy because this place is so dark. Dark stuff happens all the time. The assault on perception and on spirituality and love while you're here incarnated here is intense. It's a trip. It's a true war going on. You've seen it and I've seen it.
Yes.
I mean, it's a war going on in these circles of these people that are on these platforms. You see it openly. Some of them are not what they pretend to be. They're lying. They can't do the stuff they're doing. They ain't experienced the stuff that they say. And when you get in their energy field, really meet these people, you can feel it. You got a weak energy field undetected, just like that. And I look through you like paper. You're like that too. I mean, seriously. But if you're real, we're gonna vibe and it'll be probably all right, But then when you see people like that, and you wonder like why these people don't have like what I call Artron energy. And I stole that word from Doctor Who. But the truth is, when you're on one of these craft or you're around these beings, sometimes they like can irradiate the cells of your body, like where you get this Kundalini release feeling, this Shakti Pat, and it like does something. I think it tags you. And so when I get around somebody else that has Artron energy, remember I didn't say nothing to you till we met in person. We were sitting there, and I said, "You gonna tell me about your contact experiences?" You looked at me real weird. You didn't want to talk about it. But I was like, I would lay off. I was like, I wasn't talking about it. I feel it on you. I know you're some sort of contactee. And you finally started talking. We sat there for a couple of hours and talked, remember? It was our first encounter of actually meeting each other face to face. And there's other people. There's people I can detect it sometimes cyber-wise. You've got a few people out there, like I think Amy is probably in the group right now. I haven't worked with her yet, but I think she's a contactee. I can feel it off her. It's just, yeah. It's just, anyway, sorry, I don't want to take this away from stone technology. We're supposed to be talking about people turn into stone and getting trapped with horrible,
Well,
horrible more.
speaking of which, Kat Donnelly has a comment or a question. Wonder if the Russian soldiers who were unalived, because they obviously did pass away. I mean, obviously, I would assume, right? Did their spirits move on, or are they stuck in stasis? What do you think, Barry?
Man, that's a good question.
It is a
Wow,
good question.
I don't know. That sends my mind spinning a little bit. That's a great question. It makes me think about the stasis fields that they use when they bring somebody into a craft. Like, for example, the first time that happened to me when I actually saw a light, it was like a golden light type. First I saw a blue light, then it went gold. And I started actually looking into that further because they say that the blue light it's actually ultraviolet. The purple light, ultraviolet, and it's a disinfection light for when you're taken into the craft so you don't harm them. So I wanted to find out, and people were saying in the different groups of contactees, melanin dominant contactees are saying, I never saw a purple light. So we don't get that because we have melanin, we don't have to be disinfected. And you have the other contactees that say something different. And the truth is it is what I think it's more about the different beings that you're dealing with opposed to what creed we are. Just food for thought. I'm sorry, I'm throwing stuff out there because it's neat for somebody to bring that up. Anyway, it makes me think about the stasis of the craft and the stasis lights they bring you in. And that does kind of freeze you to a degree. Your physical body anyway, you're still maybe alert to a little bit, but it stops the physical body. And so that sent me down the rabbit hole. Sorry, I don't have an answer for it though.
Oh my gosh. Kathleen Michael, thank you so much for that super sticker. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Okay, so I had some pictures that I don't believe that I put them on here. I meant to, and you would have loved it, Barry. I actually had them. One of them was from Star Wars. Was it Luke Skywalker that was stuck into the stone and it was like his face was frozen in that stone or whatever, that block?
That was Harrison Ford.
Yeah. Okay.
Han Solo.
I was Han Solo. Okay. See, I don't know my movies. I'm so sorry.
Do you think he can still have sex after they got thawed out? There's no way. I'm just teasing.
I mean, we were already talking about stone private parts a while ago. Okay, so maybe, who knows? Oh my gosh, this has been a crazy conversation tonight. It really has, but very thought provoking. Okay, so
actually, that's an interesting comparison though. On a serious note, Han Solo, what they froze him in was they called it carbonite, I believe.
Carbonite, that's right.
It was a big deal when he survived the freezing process. Vader didn't care, but he did survive it. And sorry, I'm cracking pride jokes to get me booed off your show tonight.
No,
anyway,
listen, we went there tonight.
That's an interesting reference. I started thinking about, I couldn't name them all, the amount of science fiction shows you see somebody get shot with a beam and suddenly they turn into stone or something or get calcified to a degree. Yeah. So, I think that you might be dealing with a combination of light and chemicals, but I think it's more of a light technology that somehow phases it and interacts with the matter energy transfer deal. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, frozen in carbon. Okay.
Yeah, carbonite. Yeah.
Well, that would have. He was frozen in carbon. Would that have changed his molecular makeup? I mean, did he ever get unfrozen? I'm assuming he did.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi. He got unfrozen, and good for everything. He's out there in the war again. He was good after a day or two. But then again, when you look at that, is also the freezing though. That's also more similar maybe to cryogenics. Even in the movie Alien and Aliens, you remember when they first go to that planet, they all come out of cryogenic suspension. How many years it took them to actually get there? That was part of the things they signed up with the company. So,
they say that there are giants here in stasis, right? Have you heard about that? The red-headed giants in stasis? I mean, there is that one. That would be a great remote viewing target. Have I remote viewed that? I may have already remote viewed it for a long time ago. But that red-headed giant that is it Gilgamesh or something? I don't know who. I don't know who it
Well,
is.
not just that, but if they are able to clone,
Mm-hmm.
and if they can't bring in infuse the soul factor, they keep these things on cryogenic suspension. When you start looking at stuff like that, it's not so far out. When you start looking at these corporations, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it now. But the company that actually will freeze bodies and try to wait until they can have the medicine to cure you, and then thaw you out again and hopefully cure you and bring you back or something. There's a company that specifies in that works in that. I mean, that's like a Star Trek thing. In the Next Generation, there was one of the early episodes was they thawed out these people that were in stasis for about 200-300 years, and they were trying to acclimate and everything. But in reality, you've got a company that does that. God, NextCore, WebCore.
I don't know. It's not Clonade. We know them. I mean, I don't know them personally. I hope I don't. But I'm just kidding. God, I've got terrible jokes tonight. Okay, this is an interesting comment from the Fortmans. Okay, there have been cases of frogs found encased in geodes and are alive when released. What?
I never heard about
That's
that.
wild. That's wild. Now, Abbott has a good question too. Good old cryogenics. Have they brought any back yet? Has anybody been reanimated that you know of, Barry?
Not that I know of, not that I know of, but I don't think it would be advertised. And it would be a question of
Sure.
who had themselves frozen, because they've been doing that at least 20 years by now, freezing people in those. I've got a video about that where there's these huge tubes. They're freezing people in, waiting for them. They're not even dead yet, but they're like at a point about to die, and they're freezing them, trying to preserve them until there's a cure for what they have. They're going to try to thaw them out or whatever. There's, but as far as it being successful, I haven't heard of such, but we probably wouldn't. But it's interesting conjecture. Interesting question,
Okay, well, now we don't really hear about that very much. And yes, I heard that Walt Disney's head was frozen. That's like a rumor that's always gone around, Raymond. Now we hear more about, we don't hear about the cryogenics as much. We hear more about the cloning and the consciousness transfers. And I see James Reeks in the chat tonight. Hey, James. And he's speaks on the secret space program quite a bit. And so that I hear more about the consciousness transfer with those programs, okay, than I do cryogenics. Now, I did have a comment that I forgot until just now. We were talking about, this just reminded me, Daryl James was on my show a couple of weeks ago, or about a week ago, and we talked about reptilians. And he was mentioning that there are reptilians living underground, but a lot of times it's like they're being controlled. Like what we see above ground is something being controlled by something underground, almost like in that movie Avatar, right? The movie Avatar, like the Avatar, that's like a soft disclosure, I guess. There are things that are being controlled here, the consciousness, but whatever's controlling them is below ground. Okay. And that's what he was talking about with some of these reptilians and stuff too. So I don't know. I know that was from like 15 minutes in the show ago. Okay. But it's just a thought.
I just found the name of the company I was referring to that's been freezing people and trying to wait till they can be cured. It's called Alcore, ALCORE, Alcore. It's that company. That's one of them. Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, back to about the underground stuff. When dealing with the reptilian faction, I always steer kind of away from that. I did one video years ago called Reptilian Questions, and another one called Black Reptilian that was actually came out in a regression I had done with somebody. It was fascinating. Anyway, but as far as the reptilian, I'd always heard something for the beginning, which is one that you have those that were already on Earth, and it would be the dominant had they not have to go under because of these cataclysm, go underground, and that they're saurians, and they're more of the dinosaur type of reptilians.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have these others that we've all heard about, the Draco, that come here from constellation Draco, and then they bred with them and kind of corrupted the ones that were Earth dinoids. I've heard them called a few different things, saurians, but that's what you got. You've got these two factions, and they're described as being slightly different. But I've always heard, I believe Credo Mutala talks about that also, who doesn't get enough acknowledgement for bringing most of the reptilian thing to the surface or to the public. He was a big one on that.
Yeah, we need to hear more about that for sure. Smooth Criminal Triple OG. I love that name. Thank you so much for that super sticker. That's very sweet of you. Now, I mentioned a while ago that James Rink is in the chat today. Hey, James, I see you in here. So he says, yes, we can serve in clone bodies, Erebus and Sabus. I think I pronounced that right. Okay, so it can serve in clone bodies. And we actually have friends, I know people personally that believe that they're living in a clone body right now. Okay, which is pretty mind-blowing to me. Super mind-blowing. Let's see. And so Jimmy Payne said Pandora is real. Ooh, are you familiar with Pandora, Barry?
You know, I was going to ask a question, okay? And I don't mean to be the skeptic, brother, okay?
A skeptic.
But for the people that are saying that, can't you go get some genetic tests and prove it?
Prove what?
I mean,
you're cloned?
They're clones. They're not they're in a clone body. Is there something that could genetically be done to prove that?
That'd be interesting.
DNA's gotten very far forward. And, I've met somebody now that's involved in some of this, and they're getting a lot of testing done. Cost them a lot of money, but they're trying to prove this stuff and figure, I'm not just talking on the clone body. Well, get the genetic testing, prove it to us and to the world. Let's bust this wide open. For real.
Well, there's so many, we hear about the clone, there's a song called Cloned Rappers. Okay. A lot of political figures and music industry people and actors and actresses are potentially clones. I don't know. I'm not saying our president might be one.
Do they get cloned before they bend over or after they bend over? Which one is it? That's what I hear about the industry. Somebody, which one is it? They clone before they bend over or after? Which one?
My gosh.
I'm just curious.
Oh my gosh.
In the rap industry, I definitely question that. And I'm not the only one talking about that. That's well known. They're talking about that a lot right now.
Oh my gosh. Yes. All right. Let's change the subject back to what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
so Jim Gerard, hey, says those who have hearts of stone are not human. Interesting. Yes. Hearts of stone.
Shoot, I would agree with that. I mean, I would agree with that because there's something some people here right now that incarnating here, they can't love. They don't seem to be capable of it. And not just that they're capable of heinous acts, but they just seem to not be able to love. I know somebody I've known for years. They're such a nice person, real cool. We're sitting there talking, and they started telling me, man, I've never actually been able to love anybody. I can't seem to feel it.
Yeah.
What? I'm they're really being serious. So I think that's,
Okay, John, the Fortmans have another comment. Freezing is being used in medical resuscitation. People have survived drowning in cold water and been resuscitated with less brain damage due to the preservation of cold water. So John Hopkins. Yep. Interesting. Okay. So James has another interesting comment. Okay. These avatars can be other species, but they need some of the original DNA for the soul to enter the clone hybrid. Very interesting. I'm just fascinated with the cloning. And see, Barry, have you ever seen the videos of the skins that are made for clones? It's really weird. It's like human bodies, but they're not animated. It looks like dead people. Okay, but anyway, that's a whole other show. So, how about Will?
Concerning that, I'll use my references of entertainment. There was something that was canceled years ago. It was called the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Okay.
It came out for 2 seasons. And during that, they had other Terminators that were sent back to get John Connor, a.k.a. Neo, whatever. Anyway. But one of them got actually blown apart. The head gets blown through a time vortex and the physical body doesn't go through. Okay. And then the body itself activates in the future and goes and finds the head. It reassembles the head and then it puts the stuff on like a cover and goes to the scientist. And when the scientist, anybody look up this show and look up this scene. Okay. And the scientist comes in, he's got the board up there. It's a protoplasm board and these calculations. And the Terminator finished it for him. Finished the rest of it. He goes, that's it. And he stood just looking at him and saying, "Can you do it?" You know, it's all he's got this like this biker stuff on. You can't see him, you know. And then he said, "Can you do it?" He said, "I'll need extra blood for this." He goes, "I brought my own." And then he actually gets the robot. He takes the thing off. He sees he's this metal Terminator, and he gets him into the bath full of this protoplasm. And he rises out of it, and dude cuts the slits in his eyes so his eyes open. But he's got this new flesh on, so he can go and mold into blend into society. But when you actually look at the calculations that are on that board during that show, during those scenes, it caused a great deal of controversy in how real they were. The computer, they're real. It was real. People that were really dealing with that are saying, "Hey, that's very real what they're showing you out there."
Oh,
Just food for thought again. But that's when you're dealing with protoplasm, these false skins things. You got to remember what Reese said in the first Terminator. He told Sarah, he said, "These ones are new. They look human. They got the flesh, the everything." They were telling him, "How's a Terminator come through if only people can come through?" He said, "It's metal, but it's surrounded by living tissue." Anyway, sorry, just food for thought.
Wow. Okay. They tell us in all the movies, okay, like there's all this disclosure. It was just too fantastical to believe it's to ever could be real when we're watching it. Now I'm like, man, I can't say I believe everything, but it's like, wow, if they're showing us stuff in movies, we better prepare because it's probably got some truth to it. Now, Alika Tinkerbell. Okay, I'm just jumping on Jessica's Super Soldier Talk, which James is in the chat right now. Just did an interview with Raynetta Jones on Petrified Giants. She's communicating with them. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to have to check her out. Okay, so that's amazing. That sounds awesome. I'm definitely going to check that out. Petrified Giants are my jam right now. I love looking into this stuff. Now we have a whole new angle on this with this ET technology. That seem to have blasted these 23 soldiers in Russia and turned them into limestone, as per this FOIA requested document here. Okay, so this is for entertainment purposes only, everyone. Thank you, Amy.
No,
we just need that.
Forever.
We have to state that. Okay, this is for entertainment purposes and educational purposes only. Okay.
Yeah, there's Amy there. Hello, Amy.
Yeah, Amy's here.
Good energy.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Yeah, this has been a fantastic, deep dive into all these topics tonight, and it all stems from the remote viewing of the Russian soldiers who were turned to limestone by an explosion when 5 aliens joined together into an orb and let off a blast, and the men were turned to stone. Now, I think it's super interesting that we are here talking about this together, Barry, considering that you and I did see that video that we refer to quite often with what looked like an orb shoot past a camera in someone's backyard, landed on the ground, and it turned into an alien. Okay, the alien ran around the yard, and then it turned back into an orb, and it shot past the camera again. Okay. So Matthew did show that to the public at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this past weekend. So it has gone public now, kind of, at that conference. And I think it's time. I've been asking him to show that. I want him to show it on my show.
Something that they want me to mention this. All right. So sometimes I get pushed to urge things. Something that John Vivinko had mentioned, and it's on my YouTube channel when he and I are sitting there talking for about an hour or so. But he had mentioned that on some of the portals that they had remote viewed, and crop circle 2, the portals that were those plasma lights were coming out of, that these portals on the other side, you've got literally hundreds, if not thousands, of entities trying to squeeze through them all at once. And that's like you and I trying to get our head through a ketchup bottle. Difficult task at best. But when actually those that actually are able to merge through and come through at once, when they actually exit in this dimension, they come out in collective form, in orb form, collective consciousness. It's something about the transmission or the transferring between that dimension to this one through those portals that causes that natural effect and then to come out in orb form in collective consciousness. I mean, I've never heard anything quite like that. I thought it was fascinating when he said that. So that might be something else for us to look into, because what you got was so incredible from the crop circles you blind targeted. This was like one of the first ones I gave you.
Yeah. That was one of the first targets, one of the first sets of coordinates you gave me. And I was, I don't know if you recall that night that we went on air and discussed that. My entire body turned red. My face was red. I was sweaty. Every time that I would go over that data, I started channeling again. And it was causing energy it was like that. I don't know. It was like Kundalini or something. I don't know what the heck that was, but my body was having a reaction to those messages that were coming through.
You know, I remember you sending me messages saying you were getting really emotional behind the message that were coming through that these plasma balls are giving you. So what was the message? You remember what it was? What was the main one? And I was like, is it negative? You're like, no, it's not negative. What was the message? You might as well say it now. I think it's real positive.
Well, I'll never forget it. Okay, so when I was remote viewing orbs over crop circles, particular instances of orbs seen over creating crop circles, actually, I do believe that we determined that there are two separate types of orbs that make crop circles. And one of them was the original orb that came from source. It was like source energy. The other orb was, I want to say, like a knockoff. It was like generic. It was something that had been like reverse engineered or something. It was being used for the opposite polarity of the good messages. So these orbs were making crop circles to give us messages to help move humanity along and to give us messages, okay, like positive messages to help us progress as civilization. And then they had the other ones that were corrupted. They're putting out, I don't know whatever messages they were putting out, but the message that came through was, thank you for your teamwork. We know you're tired. We know it's been hard and you want to give up, but don't give up. We're here to assist you and we're proud of you. That was what the message was. I mean, it was loud and clear when I was doing that target. I'm actually getting hot again. Oh my God, my face is getting oily and sweaty. Because whenever I say that, I get like, my hands are seriously like super sweaty right now.
You know, I think it's really beautiful and it's important in terms of what you're saying, because there is another type of orbs that are plasma balls that are making a different type of crop circles that has a negative energy in it. And if you listen to somebody like Linda Moulton Howe or somebody who's no fan of mine, Petty, what's the name? They all will say the same thing. And the other people that are really dealing with crop circles, they'll say some of the circles, they get in the energies off. It feels really negative. They get sick or something. It's not like the other ones that give the positive energy and things. And when dealing with the work that Dr. Livingood had done about the nodes and about the bending and about these stems and these crops are exposed to so much, not just high plasma energy, but also high microwaves. And it causes like a shock, and the seeds go into this like type of a process where they actually begin producing much more biofuel and much more product than they would have otherwise. So what you start seeing is that this is also showing a way for us to combat food shortage. It's very interesting when looking at some of these things about just what all Dr. Livingood found out about what is happening with it. Because when the crop circles, when the crops are exposed, the node is exposed to this, and the seed is exposed to this microwave energy, it creates something called an electron avalanche, and that's what makes the genetics even stronger. So it's very interesting when looking at stuff like that. And then some of the actual crop circles themselves, the patterns are for free energy devices.
Free energy. I tell you what, I think a lot of things in history have. Oh my gosh, I don't know if we need to go there tonight, because we're going to be here all night. We can start talking about free energy and human resets and the cloning and all this stuff. Goodness gracious.
Technology,
It is so connected, a lot of this stuff, the mud floods, the mud fossils, man. But tonight we were really focused on the soldiers who were turned to stone. And yes, we have Tyler Qualit in the chat tonight too. Hey, Tyler, you guys go check out Journey to Truth podcast and go to his conference, everybody. Okay. It's coming up. And so, yeah, this has been a fantastic show tonight, Barry. I feel like I was all over the place kind of, because there's just so many facets to what we were talking about and so many connections. But the main one in my mind being, we got the two main ones are the orbs and this document actually stating that 5 aliens came out of this craft and then formed into an orb, and then the men were turned to stone when it powered up, I guess you could say. Okay, so we've got orbs, aliens turning into orbs being aliens, which we have already seen personally on a video. And then we have
confirmed in your data. You confirmed in your data. You got the ship and things.
And then we have the petrified giants. Okay, and we have the petrification of these men, these soldiers turning into limestone. And then we have the topic of the petrified giants we've been talking about so much. And I just feel like I think that's what it is. There's some sort of alien technology that turned these things into petrified giants. Okay, so sorry, not sorry. We've made the connection tonight. Okay.
Very, very good job. I think good job. And it brings a type of, the data brings a reality to it, opposed to just being some far out conspiracy story,
Yeah.
With the technologies we've seen already, it shouldn't surprise us. But I think that technology is in high demand. That particular type of technology, stone technology, very high demand.
And you have already you've been researching this stuff for years. And you had sent me that video. That was from a while back, the stone technology video that you made. So you know what? That's what the crop circle message was about, Barry. We're a team doing this, and it's not just me and you, it's us, all of us. It's everybody in the chat, it's everybody watching at home, it's everybody that we work with, everybody. I mean, I do shows with James and Tyler's in here, and we talked about Jock a whole bunch tonight. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of us. And with these wonderful comments in the chat, I mean, we're just all kind of piecing this together.
One other thing I'll throw in there too is that, of all the regressions I've done, and when I ask people what it is they came to Earth for, I get the same response from like all these different people. And it's always something very similar to, I came here to be happy and to learn to love and express love. I mean, that's very simple. It's not the complex things you would think they'd be saying, I came to do this and that, this and that. It's not. It's always about love and about happiness. And let's be honest, this place is very difficult to exist here. It's hard to live. It's hard to make it here. It's difficult. And it really can dampen your ability to be happy and to express love. The powers that be have designed this place to do that.
Okay.
So just food for thought again, throwing that out there,
Well, that's why everybody can tune in to the Cryptid Huntress and to Barry Littleton's channel. Okay. And to all of our friends that are here in the chat, everybody that's in here that's got a channel, y'all go subscribe to them, please. And it will keep you everybody occupied, going down rabbit holes and learning together, because that's what this is all about. It's all about teamwork, and it's all about learning together, and it's all about. And I love Robin. You are so sweet. She's so positive. I love Robin. Keep shining, peeps. The world needs your light. That's right. And the world needs all of our lights. And so if we can come here and have everybody laughing tonight, I mean, I had a really good time. This has been. We have laughed. Gosh, I can't remember laughing this much, especially this week. Okay.
Those Cordy Berry jokes got you. Those old red skeleton jokes. Red skeleton. Anyway.
Yeah. We were talking about some risque topics tonight. I don't usually go there with talking about stone private parts and stuff that are all over these petrified giants. I don't know, y'all. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah. So
right.
we're all going to look at it differently now after tonight.
She's right. She's right. Growth is a part of the process. Only thing I can
Right.
say though, growing pains kind of sucks though. Kind of painful, ain't it?
It does. Okay, so I saw Steve Wolf. Hey, Steve. He was asking what the title to the orb video was that you and I did with the orbs over the crop circles. If you go to my playlist here on the YouTube channel, go to the remote viewing playlist, and you'll just find orbs over crop circles. I think it's called Remote Viewing Orbs Over Crop Circles is the name of that video. So it is in my playlist.
And Steve, I think in the comments or in the description is the link to the video that I have that is actually the orbs that were making the crop circle, just like a minute video that she actually remote viewed. That was the one it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all of these remote viewing shows are so fun and so cool. And oh man, yes, okay. Towards the light we go. I love that. Okay, so the Fortmans are asking about my shirt. Yes, I have the Cryptid Huntress t-shirt, and I only had a few of these made up, so I will be making these in mass eventually, and I will have them for sale on my website. It's just the logo, just like we have over there in that corner above Barry's head over there. It's that.
That's cool.
The Cryptid Huntress.
I got those magnets you sent me on my fridge actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've got listen, if you're a Patreon member, my Patreon members do get like Cryptid Huntress merch, and if you buy stuff out of my shop, I do include Cryptid Huntress merch, including these little pins with like the giant skulls with some of my logos and stuff. I've got skinwalkers and skulls and the Dogman and stuff, and I put those in all my packages. So y'all can come get some. Yeah.
I gotta say this. I don't upset him. Every time I see John Fortman there and I see the last name, it makes me think about Smallville because the first season when the leading character's name was Whitley Fortman. Only other time I'd heard that last name before. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like I say, well, I always use I have entertainment references. I'm weird like that. You know.
Modeling. Oh my gosh, that was a terrible modeling job. I need to one day I'll be able to hire some models. Maybe I don't know. I usually get my nephews to model for me, my son. So that's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So. All right. Yeah, hoodies will be great. Okay, I promise you guys, I will make up some more Cryptid Huntress merch to put on my website. So we'll do that. That's next on my list. I ain't got time for that right now. I'm trying though. I'm trying. You guys, I have 3 live interviews tomorrow. Okay. I don't know how but every single day this week, I've had like at least 2 live shows every day this week. And I got 3 tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be on air tomorrow night until after midnight Eastern. So starting with Esoteric Atlanta tomorrow at 1. I'll be on Mary Amy Show, 2 Psychics at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. And then I'll be on, not Awaken Nation, but with Penny. That's going to be at like 10 o'clock tomorrow night. So you guys come see me tomorrow. Barry, please tell the audience where they can find you and your amazing videos.
I'm on YouTube under Barry Littleton. I'm on Patreon under Barry Littleton. And on Facebook under Barry Littleton. My email is barrylittleton1313@gmail.com. Come over, subscribe, hang out. If you decide to look at my YouTube channel, it's a lot of like 300 some videos on there, but please look at the playlist. Otherwise, a bunch of them just don't seem to come up. So thank you.
Yes. I love your videos, and the music is something to jam out to, man. I love your music. I know it's awesome. Well, without you, Barry, I would just have data and I wouldn't know what the heck I'm talking about. Okay. So thank you for being here tonight and helping me with this.
You did a great job with that. So thank you. It was different and it's cool because it's not cookie cutter. It's something completely different. So that's cool. Thank you.
That's right. That's right. It's not cookie cutter. Absolutely not. Okay. All right, everybody. Well, I'm so glad you guys came here today. It makes me feel good to see everybody having fun in the chat. And we do have a wonderful community here. So somebody's asking, do you sing? You do have that good voice, Barry. I'm just saying.
No,
like Barry White.
I can say, sure, you're right. That's about as good as it gets.
Oh my
Thank
gosh.
you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, everybody, good night. Keep your vibrations high. Yeah, stay blessed, everybody. Okay, you guys, please come see me this weekend. I actually have, let's see, Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are podcast coming on Spaced Out Radio Sunday night. And we're going to be talking about Goat Man. Okay, Goat Man. I know we talked about, what was that yesterday? The sheep squatch. You missed that one, Barry. Sheep
No, I
squatch.
actually watched it. I just
You
didn't get in
missed,
the chat. But you know what?
okay.
I agree with what Dennis Carroll was saying. I think it's
Dennis
kind
is
of
in the
demonic
chat.
too. I think it's demonic too. He made references to that several times without making the official pinning it, but I agree with him. It's and historically it looks that way, and it kind of gives me that vibe. It is what it is.
It is a red-eyed horned creature, okay, that lurks around at night. So it's a cool one. If you guys missed it, y'all go back and check out Sheep Squatch at the Cryptid Hunters channel. All right, y'all. Well, I'll see you guys Sunday night. If I don't see you before then, I will be all over the internet tomorrow. Esoteric Atlanta, Mary Amy's Two Psychic show, and then Awaken Nation. I'm not sure what the nighttime show is there, but I'll be there. I think it's on Rumble, okay, tomorrow night. But Barry, thanks again. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. If I don't see y'all again, and come see me on Sunday night. Okay, y'all. Well, I hope y'all learned something, and you guys know what to do. Go lock your doors and have a great night. All right, Barry. I'll see you later. Bye.
Sure.